Gathan opening the sutra, the Dharma incomparably profound and infinitely subtle is rarely encountered even in hundreds of thousands of millions of ages. Now we see it, hear it, receive and maintain it. May we completely realize the Tathagata's true meaning.
Can you change so I can just see the people on the side? There's a little menu down there on the right. There you go. That's good. You could actually put it in gallery view. Yeah. Case 9 from the Gateless Gate. Daitsu Chisho. Daitsu Chisho's Nonattained Buddha. A monk asked the priest, Qingjiang of Xingyang, the Buddha of supremely pervading, surpassing wisdom did zazen on the Bodhi seat for 10 kalpas, but the Dharma of the Buddha did not manifest itself and he could not attain Buddhahood. Why was this? Xingyang said, your question is exactly to the point. The monk said, but he did zazen on the Bodhi seat. Why couldn't he attain Buddhahood? Xingyang said, because he is a non-attained Buddha. Or the other translation is, he just didn't attain it. Wumen's comment, I approve the old barbarian's realization, but I don't approve his understanding. If an ordinary person realizes, he or she is thus a sage. If a sage understands, he or she is thus an ordinary person. Wumen's verse, better than knowing the body is knowing the mind in peace. When the mind is realized, the body is no longer anxious. When the body and mind are fully realized, the saintly hermit declines to become a noble. So, this is the first day of our Healing Harvest retreat here in Oak Park. There is the just the scent of fall in the air now, a little crispness in the air, and some of the leaves are starting to turn. We are so buffered by our culture with so much stuff and things and technology that sometimes it's hard to really appreciate the simple rhythms of our life, the basic things of our life. Being awake, sleeping, night and day, the seasons. The spring, there's the exuberance of new growth. Yang is coming up. Things are starting to grow. You see the first shoots coming through the earth. It's exhilarating. It's exciting. And then we have the fullness of summer, the yang, things at the height of yang, the height of growth and production, all the plants growing, trees, green leaves coming out. And heat. And now the heat brings unusual weather for us. And then as we move out of summer, where we are right about now, the end of summer, we're kind of moving out of that fullness of the yang back to moving into the yin of fall, getting ready for the sleep of winter. And all those leaves that have been collecting the sunlight during the summer, they're all gonna die. No, they really don't die. They fall. The trees let them go. And they fall on the forest floor, and they make the soil rich, so that and then everything sleeps through the winter, the yin, everything rests. And in that rest, things are being prepared for the next spring. And so the leaves drop so that the soil can be prepared. The leaves become the soil, and the soil becomes the leaves. So when we're starting a retreat, we're the first day like this, we're just getting settled. You're probably sleepy. You didn't sleep enough last night. You're a little irritable. There's a lot of details, service positions. Things are a little chaotic. We're just trying to settle. Just trying to get back in sync with what's here. We're out of sync. So we come to a retreat like this to come back into some balance with the way things are. You know, we call it the Buddha way, but now you'll notice in our services we usually translate that as the Buddha Tao. And Tao, is to be in accord with the Tao, is to be in accord with the way things are here. And if we're not in accord with the way things are, then we're in a very small little world of our own making, trying to control something that doesn't need to be controlled. So, like the trees, we could just let go of our leaves. Just let go. Let go and rest a little bit. Summer's almost over. Now, in this koan, you have a monk asking Daitsu Chisho about why the Buddha didn't become enlightened, the supremely, the supremely pervading, surpassing wisdom. The Buddha of supremely pervading, surpassing wisdom didn't attain enlightenment. Why? He sat for many, he sat for 10 kalpas, and a kalpa is an unimaginably long amount of time, a lot longer than this 3-day retreat for sure. And yet he didn't attain. Why didn't he attain enlightenment? And Daitsu tells the monk he was a non-attained Buddha, but the monk isn't satisfied with that answer. He's still puzzled. Why? He persists in asking him. He says, but he sat on the Bodhi seat, the best seat he could. He was in the zendo like this, and he sat on his cushion. He sat on his chair for millions of years, but he didn't attain. How come he didn't attain enlightenment? I mean, what are we here for if it isn't to attain enlightenment? Why are we practicing? There's a story about a freighter that got caught in a bad storm off the coast of South America. And all of their water kegs and barrels were smashed in the storm. And the whole crew was, parched of thirst, almost not, they were really in bad shape. And they encountered another vessel. And so they signaled to that vessel requesting for some fresh water. And to their surprise, the signal came back, let down your buckets. And when they did so, they discovered what they thought was the seawater was fresh water, because even though they couldn't see the land, they were a couple miles offshore from the Amazon River, and the water flowing into the ocean from the Amazon River is very sweet indeed. Well, it's probably muddy too, but it's not salty. Isn't that what we want to do? Just let down our buckets where we are. Let down your bucket. So I could tell you all kinds of details about the koan, which are really not that important. I mean, this comes from this originally originates from the 7th chapter in the Lotus Sutra, where there are, it's an elaborate parable about a king and his 16 sons, and the youngest son is Shakyamuni Buddha. And He is the supremely in the Lotus Sutra, it describes him as a supremely pervading, surpassing wisdom. Supremely pervading refers to the one who personally penetrates everywhere into the 10,000 dharmas, which has no nature and no form. Surpassing wisdom refers to the one who has no doubts anywhere and does not attain a single thing. The Buddha is the one whose clear light shines throughout the Dharma world. But he doesn't attain a single thing. Why would he need to attain something? It's like saying you're a human being and you need to attain your humanity. How can you attain being a human being? You're already one. We're already Buddha, right? So, but you know, we all practice for various reasons, and it's easy to imagine that we're practicing to get some kind of result. We want peace of mind, and we know from experience of doing retreats that if we sit long enough, we will have more peace of mind. So we practice. You know, in Chinese medicine, they have two kinds of transformation. And we could say that really practice is about transformation. And there's one kind of transformation in Chinese medicine that's called Bian transformation, which is accruative, which things positively being built, something being built up. That's the kind of transformation we usually like. We're attaining something, we're making progress, something is growing, it's summer. Let's go out and have fun at the beach. Let's have a party. Let's make some money. Progress, growth. All progress and growth isn't so good. Sometimes there's things that grow in your body that you don't want there to grow anymore. And if they grow too much, you might die. So there's another kind of transformation that's valued equally as in Chinese medicine, which is called Hua transformation, the resolving, the coming back to the yin, coming back to letting go, letting the leaves fall, letting down your buckets. It doesn't have to do with your willpower. And yet, we know we wouldn't be here if we hadn't worked to get here. You wouldn't be at this retreat. You had to plan. If you have a job, you had to plan that you were not going to work for the next 3 days. You have kids or family, you have to make plans. You actually have to work to do this practice. You have to show up. It's physical. So that's part of the positive aspect of practice. We have to work. We have to have an intention and a motivation and some kind of, I think, curiosity about the whole thing, that we're willing to keep inquiring about what's here and who we are and how we find ourselves here. So there's that. But then there's a movement in practice from being prescriptive to being descriptive. And I think we come into a retreat, and the first couple of days we need the prescription. We need to be disciplined. We need to follow the schedule. We need to show up. And then once we're here, once we can settle, then I think the next movement in practice is about letting go. Letting go. It's not about knowing something, it's not about any further insights, it's about just letting go. And in this koan, this monk is clearly attached to some wanting to know something through practice. He's not satisfied because he doesn't understand it. And we all can relate to that. We all want to understand realization, which can't be understood, and yet we keep trying. What does Woman say in his comment? I approve the old barbarian's realization, but I don't approve his understanding. If an ordinary person realizes he or she is a sage, that's extraordinary. If an ordinary person realizes the way and wakes up, that's extraordinary. They become a wise sage. But if a sage understands, he or she is just an ordinary person. Our understanding is not so important. Trees don't need to understand fall to let their leaves go. They just let the leaves go. So we overvalue knowing, and clearly in our culture, this is highly valued. And now we even have AI, which is supposedly a more advanced kind of knowing, and there's lots of excitement about that. But how about realizing who we are? Is AI going to help us do that? You could ask AI what realization is, and it'd probably give you a pretty good statement. But have you realized it when you read that? So he didn't attain Buddhahood. Why would Buddha need to attain Buddhahood? So our practice, we need to sit on the Bodhi seat. We need to sit in the dojo. We need to sit in the zendo. We need to come. We need to show up. And then when we're here, if we stay here, we can begin to let go. And that is the healing harvest that we all have access to because we are human beings. We don't have to earn it. We don't have to achieve it. We just have to let go and look at what's in front of us. Well, that's a little, that probably needs to be unpacked, looking what's in front of us. We tend to look outside quite a lot for understanding. So the movement of practice is starting to, first of all, get in sync, get settled. And then I think the next movement and practice, this letting go, is what in our tradition we call turning the light inward. One of the most seductive illusions that we are subject to is this world of things. Objectifying the world as things, and objectifying ourselves as somebody. And it's a very seductive illusion. And if we see the world that way, it's dangerous, fearful. Death is something to be feared. To realize the Buddha Tao is to see there is no world out there that's separate from you and me. So we are the fires on Maui. We are the fires in the forest in Canada. We are the hurricane that's headed for Florida. So then, if you put this in terms of the three tenets, we start with not knowing. We have to open to what's here. Without this kind of dualistic separation that is so seductive of creating other. And if we have the courage not to do that, if we have the courage to really open to what's here and be all of this, then we bear witness to all of this. And some of it's pleasant and some of it's not. And in the peacemaker tenets, that bearing witness is what brings us to the tenderness of the bodhisattva vow. It's what gives birth to this bodhicitta, this sad and tender heart. Fall is a time of tenderness, of impermanence, when it's obvious that things are changing. Things are preparing to sleep. But not things, right? There's really no things here. Everything is interrelated. The leaves are the earth is the leaves, we are the leaves, we are the earth. And that's the healing harvest. If we can actually see clearly who we are and how we are here, then there's no problem. But as long as we want to know, what do we know? What do we actually know? We know opinions, we know judgments, we know this and that, what I like, what I don't like. What do we really know? So if knowing is not going to help us, then we have to let go. And I think that's the movement of practice. It's much more one of a kind of unlearning than it is an addition. And the magic of that is when we actually let go, then something is here that we didn't see before. You just let down your buckets. I love Chinese medicine. I love the Tao. There's the Chinese don't see a world of things. They looked at the world as patterns of change. And so everything they wrote about and everything, the way they created their medical system was all based on patterns of change. And that was sort of the higher level of looking at things. And when yin and yang are in balance, and they're in balance, they create what's called Shen, which translates as organized illumination. Yeah. And this movement of yin and yang creates the fabric of the universe, which is called Qi, which you're familiar with that term, Qi, the fabric of the universe. And it's either tangible or intangible. Most of it's intangible. In other words, we don't see it. We don't perceive it. We perceive the forms that are tangible, the organized illumination. Isn't that a wonderful way to think about objects or things? Organized illumination. Wow. That's terrific. So we say in our tradition, there is no birth and no death. And it may be hard to, in fact, it is hard to understand that, because when we think about it, clearly we are going to die and we have been born. So it's hard to understand what's meant by the unborn, but what it's saying is that we are all part of the fabric of this universe, and we are patterns of change. And if we reify this thing we call self, then right there is where we create all the trouble and all the problems and all the suffering. Grasping, desiring, wanting, accumulating, owning, possessing. No, trees don't possess anything. I love trees. They're our ancestors. So as you move through this retreat, try not to think of your practice as something you're accumulating, or that you're attaining something here. You've already attained it. You're already awake. You're already here and awake. And you can discover this, you can clarify it, but you can't attain it. And if you think practice is about attaining something, then you will be pushing for that. And you'll never be able to just let your buckets down and enjoy what practice actually is, the peace that he speaks of here in the verse. Better than knowing the body is knowing the mind in peace. When the mind is realized, the body is no longer anxious. When the body and mind are fully realized, the saintly hermit declines to become noble. Yeah. So enjoy this time that we have together to practice, even though sometimes it's hard and irritating. That's part of the bearing witness. We have to do that too. But then what comes out of this is a great love, a great compassion that will carry us through any obstacles and challenges, and it will carry us through. Your bodhicitta has great capacity to be with whatever is here, whatever challenge shows up. Bodhicitta can handle it. And you have that, you have all of that in your sad and tender heart. You just need to allow that soft spot to be here. And you don't need to defend it. You don't need to wall it off. You can just allow that tenderness to be here. And then life is a kind of magic and an intimacy, both with yourself and with others, that we all crave. And we all crave this. Okay? So, any questions or comments about practice? Okay, I guess it's time for lunch then.